where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. How often at night, when the heavens are bright with the light from the glittering stars.
Edit it out.
Lisa and I were just real little, very little, and we had maybe 2 and 3 or something like that. And we had a root cellar where Mom and Dad kept the potatoes and carrots and all the canned goods. Actually, what it was a big hole in the ground.
Right.
So she was telling us
And
about
it seemed to me it was a long ways from the house. The travel between that cellar and the house. And we didn't, every time we went out there, we had to pick up a stick because there might be a rattlesnake in that hole. And so we were going like this, and if the snake didn't crawl out, then we thought we were fairly safe. But if it did, it might be in there, and you never saw 2 kids hurry back. I hate snakes to this day. You couldn't pay me to do that again.
Yeah, it's funny.
Ready?
I'm going to tell you about my big brother, Lee. Well, we called him Eleazer. And he used to work for Ford Motor. And we were really proud of him because he had his own job and he'd buy his own food. And we got really, I don't think angry is the word, but really upset because those bananas were for him and they weren't for anybody else. So keep our mitts off. And the other story you want to hear, you could turn it off and we can start again. And we went on a double date, and I was old enough to date, and Lee was just getting ready to go on his mission, I think. And I was pretty straight-laced, and so I thought about him going on his mission, and here he was going out with this girl. Well, so he took me with him, but he took me with another man. He wasn't, we were what, 16, 18, something like that. And so we had a good time. I don't even remember what we did. Probably a little bit of necking in the back seat. I don't know what we did on that date. But then when we got home, he said that he was married. I said, he's married.
So your date was married?
My date was married. And I thought that was pretty awful. But I don't remember any of the details after that. So my big brother was a real good influence.
And you became the wild woman after that, right?
So did my dad set you up with the date, or did this? Oh, okay.
He knew.
Surprised he didn't know that he was married.
Well, I think he knew he was married.
Oh,
but maybe we were just going roller skating or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He needed a date for you, right?
Right, whatever. I wonder if your dad would remember that at all.
We'll have to ask him.
So ask Marion about Foster.
So where'd you work at? You worked in Beats?
Oh, working in the Beats? Had
Was
never
that-
anybody told you about work?
No.
That was real work. Yeah, we went up to Harvey Bassett's one year, and thin beats, got a little bit of money, and we were talking, wonder how much he'll pay us this time. And then we looked, and behind us there he was coming up on his bike, and felt kind of foolish about that, but
So
we
it's-
worked really hard in those beats,
Is that something my dad
like
went and
for
did with you?
25 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do when you were done?
What did I
Where,
do?
yeah, what'd
Yeah.
you do after the beats?
Oh, then we'd go swimming
Yeah, where
in
at?
Foster to cool off.
Yeah.
And lucky we didn't drown. But it was, Foster is a well, who else? Who else?
So did all your
besides-
brothers and sisters go do the beats with you?
I think
Or was
most
it just
of
a
them
few?
did.
Yeah.
Except we always felt like Joyce was a little bit delicate.
Ah.
So she couldn't work outside in the sun. There was probably a good reason, but we always,
Gotcha.
Mom needed her in the house to take care of the babies, and so me and Bill and Donna will say she worked really hard in the stuff. We don't remember her doing much like that, but she remembers, so I'm sure her memory is better. We used to, I was really proud that I could work with your dad and with Bill. And we did hay one year. We loaded up the hay wagon, and I know I'd go to Mutual and I'd have blisters on my fingers and be sunburned.
So is
And the
that a,
town girls would look
yeah.
different. Now, I was always proud of myself because I could get the blisters and do the work, and
There
they didn't
you
know
go.
how to
Was
do
that
their
a
stuff.
quality that your mom and dad kind of raised you guys with? Was that a quality
Oh,
that
yeah.
your mom and dad helped you with, learning how to work?
Yeah, I feel like
Sounds like it.
that was a really important part that I learned to hold to the end of the row.
There you go.
It was not particularly fun,
Yeah.
but we did it all summer long.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I'm ready if you want to hear
Yeah.
of what I changed. Earlier, I talked about going on a date with this man who ended up being married. Well, Eleazer just asked me if I wanted to go with him to the show with a coworker. And it wasn't till later I found out he was married. And he was working out of town, and so Eleazer just came and we had a good time and didn't ever have to worry about that again.
Good.
The things I had down looked like they maybe disappeared. I think my big brother had a trait for persistence. If he thought it was a good thing to do, he was going to do it. And there was a girl he wanted to take out. If I remember right, it was Joanne McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked her once, and then he asked her twice, and then he asked her 3 times. She kept saying no, and he kept asking. So finally he sent her a Valentine, one that cost him a bit of money. And she still wouldn't go out with him.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, that was kind of sad.
Oh.
Okay, here's some little stories. Joyce and Elna and Lee went in together and bought their dad a suit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good experience. And then he was working, I was and Joyce and I were working at the telephone company. We were working there. And he said one day, "Oh, would you like to pool your money and we'll buy some new linoleum for the kitchen floor?" And we thought, that was a good idea. And so he helped us and we bought new kitchen flooring. And that was wonderful.
Cool.
When I'm thinking about time, and I'm not sure I'll get it right, but we all slept together in the bedroom, the boys in one bed and the girls in the other. I can't tell you what years it was. And we would lay there and our big brother would tell us stories before we went to sleep. Tell us about how he was going to get rich. and we just thought that was wonderful. He was going to get rich and we'd all have a share in it. And that was a good way to go to sleep. I think that was the last one.
Ah, very good.
Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you about what I remember.
So tell me about Eleazer. Yeah.
Oh, he was my big brother. And the things that I remember most are he would get up and help milk the cows. We had more than one. And we had 3. Did you milk those cows too, Joyce?
Yeah, we each had our own cow.
And he milked the cows. But Eleazer liked football. And when I was growing up, at our dinner table, the only thing we ever heard about
It was football.
was football or whatever was in style at that time. But it was mainly football. And when I was in high school, don't quote me on this one, it might have been junior high. No, it had to have been high school because we had a football game away from home, Grable. And Lee was on the team and he played, was it tackle or halfback?
I think it was tackle.
Anyway, it was one of the back
That's what
lines.
Bill said.
It was one of the back
Tackle.
lines. Have you heard this story from Bill?
I'll keep going.
Okay. Well, this is what I remember from my school ages. And he was on the team. But he needed, and they were playing away from home, they were playing in Grable.
Right.
But Eleazer had to milk those cows. He had to take care of the cows. And so he couldn't go. But he took care of the cows, and then he went out and he hitched a ride. And he went to that football game. The reason I remember that is because we were just rah, 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 and go Bulldogs go, and this kind of stuff. And the half was over. And I remember at one point turning to my companion, whoever was sitting next to me, and saying, "Is that Eleazer?
He showed up at halftime, huh?
It can't be Eleazer. He's home." But it was Eleazer. He had hitched a ride and he had gone to that game. He played.
That's how much he loved it. That's awesome.
But that's the kind of guy he was.
That's cool.
He did his chores. He did what he had to do. As sports were important,
And he
and sports
enjoyed
were
it.
important to his dad too. All of us.
And Eleazer
Fine.
neither was I.
Did he do anything?
But he tossed it, and I could catch a football sometimes. if they tossed it right to
Big
me,
enough.
it was big enough.
Did he play any other sports?
He wrestled.
Yeah, all of my brothers wrestled.
Ah,
They went to Laramie with, was it Laramie, Cheyenne with the wrestling team. They got lots of wrestling awards.
Oh yes. And Eleazer would I remember him down there on the mat.
yeah.
And they did that. But the one favorite story that I wanted to tell you about,
Mm-hmm.
Lee taught me how to drive.
Yeah.
We had an old pickup. And, you know, we lived 2 miles out of town. We had to come, anyway. He did teach me on the highway, and we drove back and forth on the highway.
Sometimes we
But the one thing that I remember about this is that he took me on that dirt road that goes in front of our house, gravel road,
Okay.
and he had me drive on that. Okay, I went up that gravel road, and after a while he stopped. He said, "Okay, stop. Now turn around." And I looked at him and I said, "Turn around? This is just a two-lane small road, and there were these deep borrow pits on either side."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Sure, you can do it." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, you can do it." So I carefully turned. He told me how to do it. He wouldn't do it. He told me how to do it.
Yeah.
But I had to back up. And I was backing across the road, and the borrow pit was behind me, and the kids were in the back. And all of a sudden I heard these kids saying, "Stop! Stop!"
You were in that old ditch.
I was just about ready to go down into the ditch. And Lee said, "Yeah, I think you've gone far enough. You better go back." But he was very patient. He was very patient. But he taught me how to drive.
That's cool. Alrighty, let her rip.
If we go back to when he was a teenager in high school, we had a 48-acre irrigated farm in Lovell. And he being the oldest and Dad working elsewhere off the farm, he was supposed to be the irrigator. And if you don't shut the dams off that come out of the main ditch, then the water continues to go on the field.
Yep.
And sometimes he wouldn't check those, and it would continue to run, and then thinking that the field was ready to mow or the hay was ready to put up, we get halfway through the field and hit a spot where it was wet, and then we had to work like a son of a gun trying to get the wagon out of there. And he used to get chewed out by Dad because he didn't check those dams. So when it was my turn to irrigate, I'd already heard all the chewing out, and so I always checked them good.
It's the first thing you did, huh?
Yeah. Another thing, when I was 8, so that would make him about 15, he was a good swimmer. He could swim in the Shoshone River, which he did a lot.
We threw him in the river to teach him to swim.
He wanted me to learn and be a good swimmer, so he'd throw me out in the river.
That's
And so in the process, I about drowned before we got out.
But you're tougher.
And so it was many years later before I learned to swim.
Oh.
he was a good football player. I used to watch him play, and they played for state championship and lost by 6 points when he was a junior. And then the next year, when they were all seniors, a lot of them quit and worked at the sugar factory.
Yeah.
They ran the campaign, and so the senior year they didn't have such a good team.
What position did he play?
He was in the line. He was a guard.
Wasn't very big, was he?
No, but he was sure a good man. Nobody went
Was
through
it
him.
defense or offense?
Well, back in our day, we
Or
played both.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Picture my dad. He's probably about 125 pounds then.
No.
135,
Yeah, he would be 100 and maybe 140.
140.
Yeah,
Lineman. Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty.
yeah. But kids weren't as big back then. The big football players were 160, 180 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Like Soda Earl.
Yeah. He wanted to, after he got out of the service, after he got off of his mission, he wanted to go see his sister Elna that lived out in Texas. And so he borrowed my car, and he and Mom went out there. And in those days, we couldn't afford new tires. They were always recap tires. Okay. So they didn't last very long. And so I told him, I said, don't drive it too fast. You'll lose the tread off of those recaps. Well, it didn't matter whether you're going fast or slow. In the summertime, it would get hot, especially in Texas. So he lost the tread. Anyway, he came home from the trip, and he says, I lost the tread. And I don't know how it escalated, but we got into a fight right in the living room. Mother came after us with a broom, but it didn't break us up. And another thing he'll remember was when I was younger, I was carrying him on my back, and I think I was I was in the 3rd grade, so I'd be, 8 years old. I was carrying him on my back, and there was a throw rug on the floor that slipped out from under me, and we fell, and he fell across my leg and broke it.
Oh.
So I missed probably 5 weeks of school trying to get that thing.
What'd your
healed.
mom do in that case?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
It's funny.
But he was a good brother.
We good.
Good brother. Yeah.
Alrighty.
It's a wonder we both survived.
Well, thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Okay.
One of the best memories is we loved our cousins on the mother's side, and particularly the Workman family, because they had kids that lined up with our family. And so we would go out to their place, to their farm, which was out east of town, and they would have a bonfire, weenie roast, and we would sit around and sing songs. They had a couple of boys that played the guitar real well, Errol and Billy and Lauren. And the songs they would sing were, I'll be coming around the mountain when she comes,
Yeah.
the Red River Valley,
You are my sunshine.
You Are My Sunshine.
Yep, those are all
You'll
ones
remember
you-
those.
Yep. Alrighty. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Let's try that
February.
again.
February 23rd.
So
Yeah.
your son Mark
Yes,
was born on February 23rd. What year?
1980.
That was my
And
dad's
it was your
50th
dad
anniversary.
turned 50.
Oh, when my
That's
dad
right.
turned 50.
When your dad turned 50. Yeah.
So they're twins, 50
And
years
I
apart.
remember telling your dad about it, and I said, yeah, it's Mark Lee. Oh, you named him after me? Well, I said, well, we couldn't name him Mark Lee, so we named him Mark Allen Lee.
Well, I think it's your dad. That generation went by middle names. William Quayle.
Yeah.
A lot
They
of
call him
times.
Quayle.
Yeah.
I think that whole family was that way, except for two girls. At
Yeah.
least talking to
Oh,
Joyce.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that.
Well, Ed and I were talking about this morning some of the things that, memories. And I thought, I don't have a lot of Lee growing up, but there are a few. I mean, some of them weren't good. But then some of them were, and I thought, he must have been the one who taught me how to drive. And I remember we were out on, there was a street that ran alongside our home, and we were out there, and he told me how to start it and how everything.
Was this in his truck or was it a car?
Probably the old Plymouth.
I don't know that.
Okay.
And so, of course, you have the brake and the clutch, and there's a lot of things you had to do to learn how to drive then. But he told me how to do it, and I got in, started the car, and started, and he hadn't told me how to stop. I didn't know what to do. And so I took my foot off the gas, and I, of course, kept going. And so finally, I just reached up and turned the key off. And so I
Shucks.
stopped. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think they taught me how to
Well,
stop.
I don't think your dad really knew what a brake was for.
That's what
Oh,
I hear.
yeah, you're
He
true.
was a speedster.
He knew how to
My first experience with your dad was he came to Joyce's after he got out of the military.
Okay.
And I was going with Marion, and so I went up to Lovell with him. And we got in that car, and it was I think a 48 Plymouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he spun tires when he left Joyce's, and I don't think that he slowed down again until we got to Idaho Falls. He might have slowed down a little bit when we got to Moore and Arco because there was cops there, but I'm not sure that he did. And he blasted through there, and I never had ridden in a car that fast in my life. I've been in an airplane, but never in a car that fast.
His two other brothers talked about the same thing.
And we went all the way through, and it didn't matter whether it was in the park, on the little windy roads at 35 miles an hour, which was beyond his scope of 35. And up through Cody and all the way in. And I was never so glad to get out of the car as I was when we finally arrived at our destination in Lovell alive. And that is my first experience with you, Dad.
My dad to this day drives one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. You know how most people
Right.
will
Yeah.
deal with them. My dad is like this, so it's always either like this.
Well, he didn't apply the brake very much.
No, he certainly didn't tell me about a brake. Oh,
No, he doesn't drive anymore.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And then I was thinking later, I think he to me, he was a protective brother. When he came off of his mission, Bill used to be such a tease. I mean, he would have us crying. He would be such a tease. Mm-hmm. And one time he was doing that to me, and Lee got so, your dad got so angry at him that they really was wrestling each other and fighting because of it. Because he would treat me that
He was
way.
a protector.
Yeah. And then I was thinking later on, when I was going with Ed, we went with the family. We went up to the mountains, and then Ed and I went off by ourselves on a walk. And we came back, and he says, "You should not be doing that. Going off by yourself." And he says, told my mom and dad, "You should not let them go." But again, it was that sense of a protector.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
I've got a kid like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where he gets it from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some good dog.
Well, we stopped in Yuma to see them as we were going out to San Diego. And on the way back, we blew the engine
In your
in the
car.
Volkswagen.
Oh, were you close to anything?
No,
In the
and
middle of what's in between Yuma and Phoenix.
Phoenix and nothing, yeah.
But we-
Nowadays, it's all just houses.
but we towed the car over, and then I think it was
They came and got us.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad did.
yeah, brought us in, and I think we towed the car from where it was. We blew the engine
Over to Yuma.
to Yuma, and then Alan. John or Alan came down, and we towed the car from Yuma up to Phoenix, and we took it over and had an engine put into it.
Oh, okay.
And,
But they were really good.
Yeah.
Your mom and
and
Dad.
I had just come back from Europe. We'd come back from Germany, and I was getting ready to go to flight school prior to Vietnam, and so they were really, really gracious to us there.
Saved us our life.
And we've had some, when we were driving truck, we'd come down through Yakima and
Yeah.
we'd stop and see them.
Where'd you drive truck from?
I drove out of Salt Lake, and
Went to the northwest?
well, we went all over, all
All
48
over.
state.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
In fact, we saw all the states except the one.
Alaska?
Was that New Hampshire? Yeah, we didn't go to Alaska or
No.
Hawaii, darn it. But yeah,
But yeah,
but we'd always stop and
and let them know we were coming
parents
through,
when
and
we were there, and they'd come
they
and
would come and see us, and just it
yeah,
was
the
just they were
protect
really
stuff.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went up. This is kind of funny. We took Mel and Joyce up to see Terry up in Marysville,
Yeah.
and we came back and stopped to see your folks.
Yakima.
And Joyce wanted to go to the temple in Tri-City,
Oh, Tri-Cities.
Yeah,
and
that was the closest one I
and
guess.
they didn't have clothing there. They don't.
No, they don't, it's too small. Yeah.
Right.
Like a
And so she kept trying to talk Lee into, or your dad, into letting me take his clothing so that we could go to the temple. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that.
That would be pretty funny. I could see Joyce
Yeah,
persisting.
yeah, she was really pushing it.
That's funny.
But I don't know how they worked it out, but they went to the temple.
They went, we didn't.
We didn't.
They went, we went. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
yeah.
Up to on the tricycle, yeah.
That's funny. 'Cause
Yeah.
I had motorcycles after we got married.
Mhm.
Actually, when we got married, that's all I had was a 250 Enduro.
Yeah.
But I remember when I went up to the house once, it must have been when I was growing up, because I got in too many accidents, and my mom and dad just said, "Nah, I can't afford to, you don't need to tape this." They basically said, we can't afford to have you driving a car anymore, so no longer can you drive. And as a young kid, you think, well, there's got to be a way around this. So I went out and checked the insurance companies, and sure enough, they'll basically insure anybody, because they know if you get hit on a motorcycle, it's not going to cost much, because you're going to probably be dead.
Right, yeah.
So for $50, I got insurance and went out and bought me a 125 at that time, because I was smaller. I
Yeah.
remember taking my dad up to a dump outside of town in Yakima. It was out by Terrace Heights, because we could ride off-road up there.
Right.
He finally got on that thing and took off, and I don't think he realized what he was getting into, because up at the top there were ditches. And he was, like you say, he wanted to go fast. So he hit a ditch, and all of a sudden we see this puff of dirt going everywhere. And we kind of waited for a minute, and he wasn't getting out. We couldn't see anybody moving. We were down the hill, so we took off up after him, and he was laying on the other side of the ditch, just hurting. I think he broke his clavicle, but he didn't want to say that he did. Tried to get up and try to act like he wasn't hurt. I don't think here with Marge, right?
Margaret.
My Aunt
All
Margaret.
my family calls me Margaret.
Yeah. I used to call you Aunt Margie, I thought. Anyways, alrighty.
My nieces and nephews do that. But my family's always called me Margaret because that's my name. I don't like it, but that's
What do you
they
like to
call
go
me.
by? Marge?
Yep, Marge, Margie.
Yep, there you go.
Anything but Margaret. No. Anyway, I was home, and so like his 5 youngest one was home, and we had a kind of old stove that you,
Was it fed by wood?
well, or paper or both or
Little bit
whatever.
of-
But I got too close to it, and it didn't have any protection on it. So then I backed up too close, and it caught my dress on fire. And so, of course, it started burning everything. And so when all it was left with was from my underpants was just the rubber around it, and it had the mark around it from that.
On your skin?
Wow.
And so it burnt my back, and it was, by the time Merrill, they tried to put a towel around me and smother it and stuff. But then I started getting afraid, and I started running. I think I ran outside, but then I came back in or whatever, and Merrill dumped a bucket of water on me and saved my life.
Bless his heart.
So I've had problems with him over the years with stuff, but I'm really thankful that he saved me with a bucket of water.
Boy,
Water's
that-
really precious.
Yeah.
Well, did you have to go to the hospital after that?
Yes, I did.
How long you spent
I was
quite
in
a-
our hospital for like 6 months, and then they couldn't really do anything for me.
Pretty painful time?
Uh-huh.
Quite painful during that time?
They'd put bandages on me, and then they would pull them off. It would stick, so they would pull up.
Oh.
But anyway, they couldn't. I wasn't getting any better, so then they sent me to the old Primary Children's Hospital, and that was really an experience.
I bet.
But while I was there, they had, the temples across the street and how it's all lit up at night. They had me in a ward closer to the temple so I could see out. And I was just terrified because those lights, I thought the building was on fire because you know how they lit them up and everything.
Yeah.
So they moved me to another area, and I did better.
Well, did your mom and dad stay with you during that time, or your?
No, they had to come and visit, which
They
was
come in.
really a big ordeal for them.
Yeah, that's the way.
And then once they did finally get out, I was in there a year, and once they did finally get out, then I had to go back till I was 12 or 13, back there, and so they had to take me whenever the weather was bad or good, and for my every year checkup, and so we had a few bad experiences on the way.
because of weather.
Safe, yeah, because of the weather. So, I was really stupid, but I've been so indebted to my mom and dad for putting up with me and that, and caring enough to want to take care of us, and then for Merrill putting the fire out. Because if it had not, I wouldn't be here today.
What a blessing, huh? Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, I've had many other blessings throughout my life. So,
Well, let's see. How many years? You must have been, was it 15 years younger than my dad? See, he was born in
30.
30.
Well, I know
When
that
were you born?
41.
Oh, so about 11 years older.
But
That gap between.
I remember, well, when we were young, I remember, well, our family was close, and we
Yeah.
did a lot of things together, and we would go up to the mountains a lot. My mom and dad would take us there, and we'd have picnics a lot, and stuff, and I had a picture of Lee, and I don't know for sure if it was me or Joyce or one of them, because I looked a lot like Joyce when I was younger. They called me Little Joyce. So anyway, but I can't find that picture of Lee. I tried to see if I could find it, but I couldn't find it.
Where
But
would
it was
you
young.
go? Where would you go picnicking? Was there
In Lovell.
was there mountains right there by Lovell?
Well, you had to go a ways,
Yeah.
but like you have to go a ways here, you know.
Sure.
But we went to, well, it used to be 2 trees on the way up to the mountain, and now it's none trees.
Oh.
They cut them down.
Well, no, they just got old and died like people do. But it was really weird because young, there was 2 of them, and it was right there at the foot. So then they'd have a water well there, so you could get water
Oh.
to help you, because sometimes you have car problems getting up that, and so you could get water there and go on up the hill.
Awesome.
It was quite an experience, though, because they had a lot of switchbacks up there, and steep, and they were just, it wasn't paved or anything.
Did my dad ever take you for a drive in his truck?
Well,
I heard he had a
I'm
truck.
thinking it was a truck that we went in.
Oh,
I don't think it was a car. I can't
Gotcha.
remember a car. So it's probably his truck.
probably was. Okay.
You'll have to ask him when you see
I
him.
will. I'm gonna pause. Alrighty, Johnny, let it rip.
Well, memories of Big Brother Eleazer. I remember some of the earlier ones would be a Christmas. I wanted a tricycle so badly. Oh man, I wrote letters to Santa Claus, and you'd light them and burn them, and the smoke would take them to North Pole. And I knew I was going to get a tricycle, and some of the other brothers and sisters might have been a little skeptical, but I was sure I was going to get one. And I remember one night, probably a few days before Christmas, hearing my dad and mom and Big Brother Eleazer talking, and I remember him saying, I didn't understand then, but I do now, saying, well, you got to buy him one. He thinks he's going to get it. We've got to get him a tricycle, or we got to get him one. And anyhow, sure enough, Christmas came, and there was that little shiny red tricycle that I rode all around and just loved. And later I grew to appreciate a big brother that made sure that I got that. So there was a early memory of Lee. Another one, I guess, Alan told about the riding that in that green pickup, but boy, he would head for swamps and anything to see if he couldn't get stuck, I swear, but sometimes he made it through. And he'd find the steepest hills he could to try and climb, and we just had some good memories. As I, well, still young, I guess, but I remember him working at the Ford Motor Company, and he'd come home coveralls, and sometimes they'd be a little greasy, but and it would have Ford Motor insignia on it, and that got him some money. I remember sometimes he'd buy himself a steak and cook a steak.
Oh, he wouldn't get you guys one, would he?
I'm sure he didn't have money to buy everybody steaks,
That's too funny.
but yeah, he was a hard worker and a good football player. They made All-State. I think he played tackle, but and remember, along with working at Ford Motor Company, I think maybe he did that as he, still in high school. But then maybe the year he graduated and the year after, but as he was older, I'd guess 17, 18 years old, then he would drive up to Yellowstone and he worked construction there. And boy, that's when clothes came back black. He ran a jackhammer and exhaust and dust, and he tells about he could make it home in an hour and a half or something, even if it was 90 miles around curves.
Speed again.
He was a driver. He could drive. And that reminds me of one other experience, and all of mine were when I was young with Eleazer at home. He'd left at the time I was probably 6, 7 years old, but I remember driving he and some of the older high school kids probably, and they were hauling hay, and so they had this big semi truck they would load, and their driver couldn't drive, and so he got me to come and talked him into letting me drive. And yeah, I could steer and get between the two rows, and then turning around was a little bit tricky, but he usually ran and helped me turn it around, and he was just patient, and I appreciated him having confidence in me to do that when I didn't have a driver's license or anything, but just a little kid, and yeah, he stuck up for me, whatever I did. Even if it was a little bit of a mistake, it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated that big brother. I think that's about all I like Alan, he had me driving to Idaho, but I was a little older than Alan, and I could steer and reach things, but not legal. But it helped me be a good driver later on.
There you go.
Yeah. And I guess that's about it.
Okay. Tell me about these pictures real quick.
Well, Alan is the one that has the real talent, and he uses light. You can see that just coming in, and
So Alan
shadows. Alan Despain,
Okay.
youngest brother, drew that.
What about this lower one?
This one I didn't. Paint gets real thick before I get it finished. I'm not so talented.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
But yeah, I like wildlife and mountains.
Okay.
And Bill sure does good. I think he has to work at it a little bit too, but Alan's, I think, the talented one.
The natural one.
Alrighty, we'll tell him see you later.
Okay, see you later.
There you go.
Okay. One other memory I had to relate. I'll be real quick. When I was again real young, maybe only 4 or 5 years old, I suppose, and riding on the back of a workhorse. We had two workhorses. Boy, they had hooves that big around, and they were gigantic. You didn't want to fall off it. But I was riding back Eleazer, hold on to his waist, and we were up on the farm and coming along the edge of the field in the more swampy area, and I remember him pointing and saying, "Hey, there's a rabbit down there. If you had a spear, you could kill that rabbit." I can remember that. Yeah. Good memories.
Alrighty. I'm actually, oh, you stay there, you're good.
Yeah.
You know, if you have input during the story, sometimes
Yeah, you might
sometimes
have
the
to
memory needs
correct
a little bit of a
I know I
prompt.
have to correct him all the time, so.
Yeah, she's gonna have to correct me.
All right,
I'm
Ed,
good.
tell us those couple of stories you guys were mentioning earlier.
Okay, go ahead with the marriage one. One of the things that we remember about are we talking
Oh yeah,
to me?
yeah, yeah.
One of the things that we remember about you, Lee, is at least I do, is coming down to your house in Yuma with Dad and John and Merrill, I believe, and we all went down to Mexico to fishing. I remember driving home and running out of gas, and late at night, and walking to a person's house who happened and was very gracious in getting us a gallon of gas out of his garage so that we could make it to a filling station. And of course I was driving when we run out. It was my fault because I had passed up a service station. So I wasn't going to drive after that. So you drove,
My dad did, yeah.
Lee.
Was he, oh, you mean
And-
going down to Mexico?
Yeah.
I thought you meant coming home from
Coming
Cuba.
home from Mexico.
Oh, okay.
And you ran out of gas. And I wasn't about to go to another person's house. At least that's the way I remember it. We had a good time though. It was kind of fun. Something that I had never or would never have done, I don't think, without your setting it up. So I appreciate that. That was fun. Go ahead, Jerry.
And I remember when we were married, you came to our, well, I don't think you actually came to our reception. You came to our house afterward, and you brought us an iron. And we used that iron forever and ever.
So we had a reminder every time she got the iron out, we remembered you, which was fun.
Yeah.
I remember when you were growing up, the green pickup truck that we used, I don't know if it was yours or if it was Dad's, but you always got it stuck. I think it was on purpose. I'm not sure of that, but I think that it's very likely that it was just pushing it to the limit to see if you could get it stuck. And I remember walking quite a ways a few times after you got it stuck to come get somebody to pull you out or pull us out.
Yeah.
One of the other good memories I have is you letting me drive when I was about, I was probably 9 or something, or 10, when we were going to visit Joyce in Mackey, and on that long highway from Idaho Falls on out to Mackey, you let me drive.
How old were you?
Although I couldn't reach the gas very well. So I think we ended up, maybe I was even younger, I was probably younger because I ended up sitting on your lap, steering from one side of the road to the other side. Trying to figure out how to keep it in one lane.
Well, I'm sure Lee had his foot on the gas, because
Yeah.
I remember him liking to really
Have his
go.
foot on the gas. Yeah, he usually had his foot on the gas, I agree. Trying to reach 60 before we hit 10, yeah. Around the curve, yeah. Yeah, good times.
And you can delete this if you want, but the thing I remember about you is you'd always say, "Hell's bells."
Yes.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because my dad played golf with me a lot, and every time he'd hit it to the left or the right, it was oh shit.
Oh, well, this was Hell's Bells.
So now we know he does too.
You know where the old shit came from?
No, where?
That came from his mother.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not, Mom never swore, except when we really pushed her to the limits. It was oh shit.
Probably not that laughingly.
No,
A little more serious.
that was her one swear word that I've heard her say.
Alrighty, anything else?
I think that better be it.
Let's end on that.
That's a good one. Alrighty, thanks.